I've come to understand this about my Heavenly Father, and I'm praying today that you'll understand this too. He's not some cosmic micromanager. The commandments, the things that He encourages us to do and the things that He encourages us not to do, isn't because He's some cosmic God, giant, sitting on His throne up there who wants to micromanage your life. There is a purpose and a reason in everything He says to us. And He wants us to want Him. And when we take our lives and we strike out on our own, and we basically tell Him to speak to the hand, that we're fine on our own, it breaks the heart of God. It's quite a different way to look at who God is, isn't it? To know that He loves you so much and cares so much about you that when you exercise the gift of free will that He gave you, and you exercise it to move away from wanting Him, He doesn't retaliate. He doesn't come after you to strike you down. He doesn't have a list of names that He calls you. In His love, He allows you to do what you and I choose to do, but He sits on His throne with a broken heart. To me, that's amazing. What other God have you ever heard about that's that kind of God? That cares about you that much, you and I. See, there's a battle going on in each of us. There's a battle going on in each of us, and the battle's between giving ourselves to the created or giving ourselves to the Creator. I don't know about you, but I've constantly got that battle going on. So let me just ask you one more follow-up question. Where is your heart taking you? With this battle going on, is it pulling you toward the created things, or is your heart pulling you toward the Creator? Because the Bible tells us that the most important thing that we can ever do is to guard our heart. It says, guard your heart above all else. Guard your heart. You know why? Because your heart is your connection with God. You might be thinking, well, Pastor Mike, is there an example of that? Is there, I don't know about you, but when I think about these kind of things, I always want to run back to the Bible because I need to know, okay, if this is the case and if I'm going to accept this, then how do I live it out? I need to see an example. Anybody like that? You need to see practical ways of applying what the spiritual truths that you're reading. And so a long time ago, I began to ask God, is there an example, okay? If this is the truth, my heart is my connection to you as a fallen, messed up, screwed up human being. How do I do that? What does that look like? And it's really cool because the Bible gives us, as always, the answer. And it's found in Acts 13:22. And we're told there that God removed Saul. Now, this is a reference back to the Old Testament. That Saul, who was the first king of Israel, was removed from his position and replaced with someone. And God says, look, I want you to see this someone, this David, is a man about whom I have said, David, the son of Jesse, is a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. And I don't know about you right now, but if you're anything like me at all, hearing this for the first time I read this, I was like, really? David? A man after your own heart? I mean, help me wrap my mind around this, God, because I've read enough of the Bible to understand that this guy was not stellar, okay? I seem to remember a little thing where he went after somebody else's wife. Not that that ever happens in our culture. And I don't think David's sin was stepping out on the roof to that day and seeing Bathsheba. You know, that first look. It's what you do after that first look. Take a second. Go send someone over there to find out who she is. And then we all know the outcome of those choices. He ends up having an affair with another man's wife, and then he's worried about getting caught. So remember his method of covering it up? I mean, how many of us would not want to cover up something like that, right? We've struck out on our own. We've told God, thank you very much. We know what you want us to do, but we're fine until we're not. And then we try to cover it up. And David's method of trying to cover it up was to orchestrate a way for her husband to fall to his death in the service in the army. And so I read this, and I can't help but think to myself, this is your example. This, God, is who you say is someone after your own heart. Am I the only one wondering what's going on? Or anybody else? Give me a thumbs up online or question mark or whatever, because on the surface it doesn't make sense, does it? And again, as somebody who's been to Bible school, who's been to seminary, someone who has an analytical mind. I'm looking at a good friend of mine. I don't think there's anybody in the world, right there, that guy there, Brian, I don't think there's anybody in the world that has a greater engineering mind than him. He drives me nuts. He is an alternative fuels engineer, right? I can't count the number of times that I've heard fuel in, oxygen in, horsepower out. Or something like that. But I can relate because I do have somewhat of that type of thinking. Because when it comes to my relationship with God and wanting to understand how it works, I want to know, right? I want to know what goes in, what mix, so that I get the outcome that He wants. And so I do a comparison. I do a mental quick comparison of Saul and David, because that's what this verse is about, right? Saul's being removed. And from a human perspective, I'm like, wait a minute, okay, I know what Saul did because your stories tell me what he did. But from a human perspective, I have trouble coming to the conclusion that the things Saul did was worse or better than David's. Right? I mean, we know that Saul tried to pin David to the wall with a spear, but he didn't succeed. David succeeded. I don't see where Saul ran after somebody. Just nod, okay? If you're tracking with me, because I'm